Okay, good afternoon. She is for Fu Shalema, for Yudah Chaim and Esther Sarah, and Leila Nishmat, Tzvi Dov and Chaim Pesach, Yitzchak ben Sarah, Devorah bas Yitzchak, Avraham ben Mordechai David, Chana Golda bas Yisrael, Chaim ben Pega, Yaakov ben Yitzchak, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Rochel bas Yosef, Eliezer ben Yaakov, Chaim ben Gedalia, Zalman Leib ben Moshe, Chaim Elio ben Yosef Moshe, Amichai ben Yaakov, Gedalia ben Tzvi Ruvain, Leila Nishmatam. Today we're going to speak about Avraham's dilemma, which is actually my dilemma. Honor parents or make Aliyah? Should I leave my parents behind in Flatbush and come on Aliyah? Or is it better to honor them and not make Aliyah? Why can't you do both? How can you do both?
And I left 14 on.
What? You left one?
I left children.
But are you allowed to leave parents, right? And make Aliyah. So let's take a look at the sources on side A. How great the mitzvah of honoring parents is. Before we get to this dilemma, honoring parents or make Aliyah, let's take a look how great the mitzvah of honoring parents are on side A. The Pasuk, Yud Bet, it's in the Ten Commandments, on the text, honor your father and your mother. So if you take a look at the Torah Tamima, it's highlighted in yellow, I think. No, Yehuda? Kavod Savicha, see it's highlighted in yellow. Torah Tamima, Tanya of Shimei Choy Aimer. Shimei Choy says, the great Rashbi, Godol Kibbut Avaim, look how great honoring parents are. Shedifa Kodesh Baruch Hu Yotem Echvodo. God said honoring parents is greater and better than what? Than what? Honoring the big boss. How do I know that? How could you make a statement like that, Rashbi? Take a pill and lie down. How could Shimei Choy say that honoring parents is better than honoring God? I'll prove it to you. Shekavod HaKadosh Baruch Hu Nema, when it comes to honoring God, it's a pasuk in Mishlei, Yehuda. What does it say in Mishlei? Kabet es Hashem mohinecha. Honor God from your, what does mohinecha mean? Side A. Mohinecha means from what? From your possessions, from your wealth. Im yesh lach ata chayav. If you have money, wealth, or possessions, you're obligated to honor God. Vim lav ata patur. But if you don't have money and possessions, you don't have to honor God. What does that mean? If you have to buy tefillin, right? Put on tefillin. Talis, lulav, shofar. If buying tefillin, or buying a shofar, or buying a lulav, or buying matzah will set you back more than 20% of your total assets, Yehuda, you're not obligated to what? To put on tefillin. Or you're not obligated to shake a lulav. Because it's Kabbalah Shem Hoinecha, honor God from your wealth or your possessions. And the Talmud learns in Ksubas that a person is not permitted to spend more than 20% of his total assets on any positive mitzvah. So if the tefillin are going to cost you more than 20% of your assets, or if any mitzvah will cost you more than 20% of your total assets, you're not obligated to do that positive mitzvah. Incredible? But because it says, Kabbalah Shem Mohinecha, Mishlei, honor God from your wealth. So if you ain't got your potter, Avol the Kibbut Avaim, but when it comes to honoring parents, it says, Kabbalah Zavicha Simecha, Afil Ato Mechazer Apsachim. If you ain't got money, you have to go begging on the door, house to house, snoring to make sure, Achmil, that your parents are what? Taken care of. Yeah. So if Shimei Choy said, you see that honoring parents is what? Greater than honoring God. Honoring God only if you have money. No money, no honey. But honoring parents, even though you're what? Poverty struck, lo yaleinu, you have to go snoring from door to door to make sure your parents are what? Taken care of. You see that honoring parents is what? Bigger mitzvah, honoring God. So why did I make Aliyah? I should have stayed in Flatbush. Stay tuned. What?
If you don't have money, enough money to buy the phone, you don't have to buy the phone?
You can borrow, but you don't have to buy it.
Do you have
If nobody, you have to borrow. But if nobody wants to lend it to you, you're not obligated to buy it. You have to borrow. If no one will lend it to you, you're exempt. You don't have to buy it. That's the point.
If you have a meal for yourself and your father, who do you have to feed?
Who do you have to feed? Well, so now you open up a whole can of, I think it's called Pandora's box, right?
A can of worms or Pandora's
Not Pandora. Who is Pandora anyway?
Listen, sister.
So Yehuda asked a good question, right? If you're starving, you only have one meal. That's a great question.
Okay.
Do you have to give it to your parents or you eat it?
Parents.
Hmm? Huh?
Charity begins at home.
There's an amazing pasuk to Yehuda Lev's Bam Kasha from Bomland. There's an amazing answer in Pashas Vayigash. I don't want to waste time, but the answer is found in Pashas Vayigash, where Yehuda says they have no food, they're running out of food. So, I don't want to guess. You mind getting me a chumash and I'll give you the answer? Bereshis. Sefer Bereshis. Okay? So you come first. If it's a question of life and death, we know chayecha koydem chayecha berecha. Your life takes precedence even over the life of what?
Child.
Or your parent. Your life comes first.
I know that.
It's not your life. It's not, we don't, God is the one that gives life. And He makes the rule. And He says, chayecha koydem, that your life comes before what?
Anyone else.
Anyone else. Chayecha koydem. And actually a pasuk in Pashas Vayigash that deals with this subject. But until Yehuda gets me the Chumash. So anyway, honoring parents is such a great mitzvah. Better than honoring God. So did Abraham do right? Did I do right when I left my parents behind, what, in Babylon, Long Island, or in Flatbush and made Aliyah? But perhaps I honored my parents by making Aliyah.
That's true.
The Gemara in Kiddushin, the Gemara need to say that every human being has what? 3 parents. You thought you had 2 parents, right?
Yes.
But the Gemara in Kiddushin says every human being has what? 3 parents. The human parents provide the body, and the heavenly parent provides what?
The soul.
The soul, right? So according to the Chafetz Chaim, the Chafetz Chaim says amazing. So since every human being has 3 parents, God, Father, and Mother. So the Chafetz Chaim says, Jews love bargains. If you honor one of the parents, you're honoring what? All 3. Because since God compares His honor to what, Dr. Abramson? To what? To parents' honor, used in the same language, kabed. Chafetz Chaim says, based on Gemara Kiddush and Nida, that since every human being has 3 parents, so he says, according to Chafetz Chaim, if you honor Hashem, you automatically what? Honoring your human parents. And if you're honoring your human parents, you're automatically honoring your heavenly parent. Because it's a package deal. So, by moving to Eretz Yisrael, we're honoring God, and automatically we're what? Honoring our human parents as well. Because it's all a package deal. So if that's the case, now honoring parents is such a great mitzvah, it's the only mitzvah you can do after death. Other mitzvahs stop with death. But honoring after their death, no, thank you. Right? It's the only mitzvah you can do after their death. Right? How do we know that? So the Riyah Kodesh says, you look at the 10 Commandments, you have the mitzvah of Shabbos next door to Kibbut Avayim. You have the mitzvah of Shabbat, and then you have the mitzvah of honoring parents. When there are 2 psukim next door in the Torah, there has to be what? What does Shabbos got to do with honoring parents? Says the Ari. We know in Talmudic language, Shabbat is a symbol of what, Maddie? The afterlife. Me'en olam haba, yom Shabbos menucha. Shabbos is the symbol of the afterlife. So says the Ari, the reason why the mitzvah Shabbos is next door to honoring parents, that even though your parents are no longer in this world, where are they? In a Shabbos world. The mitzvah to honor them, on and on, on and on. Now the question is, how do you honor your parents in the afterlife? I know, in this life, you take them out to dinner, you visit them, take them shopping, but how do you honor your parents in the afterlife? And the Chayyim says something amazing. I'll put it in my words. You can honor a parent in the afterlife even on a higher level than in this world. Because when you honor them in this world, you take them out to a Chinese restaurant for lunch or dinner. 12 minutes later, they're hungry again. You know, a lot of MSG, you know. They get hungry. Even you take them out to a steak dinner, they get hungry again after 4 hours. You visit them. But then when you leave, they're sad again. You take them shopping, they're happy, but then the food runs out. So any hana that you give them in this world is by definition what? Temporary or temporary. Temporary. It doesn't last. But the Chai Adam says, the Chai Adam was, we'll see soon who he was. When you honor them in the afterlife by dedicating a shear to them, or giving tzedakah, or saying kaddish, or doing any mitzvah, you're honoring them, not like a Chinese meal. The hana remains of the neshama forever. The pleasure is eternal because you're elevating the neshama. So what I'm doing now, I'm honoring my parents even on a higher level than when they were alive. Because the shir that I'm saying, and for parents you don't have to mention a name. Reb Chaim Kamnevsky Shlita says that when you are saying a shir for parents, you don't have to say Leila Nishmat. Did you know that, Avraham? He says for parents it's automatic. Any time you do any mitzvah, it automatically accrues to your deceased parents. It's not necessary to mention their names, said Chaim Kanevsky, because the parent-child relationship is not broken with death. So therefore, it's not broken with death. So therefore, any mitzvah a child does, since he's honoring his heavenly parent, he's automatically what? Honoring his human parents, where? In the Shabbos world. It's a package deal, Avram. Jews love bargains. Buy one, get three. Lingi, buy one, get three. So you honor Hashem, you're honoring human parents in the afterlife. And the hana is eternal. How do you say the hana? The pleasure is eternal. It doesn't wear off like what? A steak dinner. Okay?
So Rabbi, if you
Yes, I said steak dinner. See that? I remember. I said steak dinner.
weren't religious,
Okay, what?
and if your parents weren't religious and they couldn't kill us,
Oh,
you know what?
Masha must have ESP. Let's say your parents are not religious. So,
Will they still get credit?
what?
They're still your parents.
No, I'm saying will they still get credit,
Yes.
even though they didn't really?
And the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch rule that even though parents are not religious, you must honor them regardless. It makes no difference. It makes no difference.
Honor them. I'm talking
Now,
about if they'll get
It
credit.
makes no difference.
Rabbi Sprecher, even a ger has to honor his
That's right.
biological parents,
That's right.
even though they're not
Eat right.
parents.
Rabbi Adi Yosef says Derech Eretz Kotbel HaTorah that a ger should say Kaddish for what? His non-Jewish parents. A ger is like a newborn baby. Halachically, he has no parents. Rabbi Adi Yosef says Derech Eretz Kotbel HaTorah. They brought you into the world. You owe them. So even though they're John O'Reilly and Teresa O'Reilly, and you are now a big tzaddik, Rav Adi Yosef said you should say Kaddish for John O'Reilly and Teresa. He said that. He says you can even sit Shiva for them. You don't have to. But he said as far as Kaddish, Shiva he didn't speak about, but he said as far as Kaddish, you should. Even though halachically they're not your parents because you're a newborn baby, but he said Derech Eretz Kotbel HaTorah. Menschlichkeit, decency, expressing gratitude and appreciation comes before the Torah. So the great Rav Adi Yosef ruled that a ger should say Kaddish for what? His non-Jewish parents.
Wouldn't you think he would sit Shiva? People are going to cry for the money.
What? He's permitted to sit Shiva, but he didn't discuss Shiva. He asked about Kaddish, but you can sit Shiva. Not a problem. Not a problem.
Rabbi,
Yes?
what happens if your mother's very sick, someone in Sheepshead Bay, and the kids went, the daughter went on?
We'll talk. Let's
Mother
talk.
died.
We'll talk. Don't steal my thunder.
Okay.
Okay, Shirley. Right?
I'll be a straight man here too.
Right.
Aaron doesn't die when at the end of the parsha.
Who?
They left before.
So again, you guys are ahead of me today. You're ahead of me. Turn over this page, please. Turn over the page. The Torah seems to be involved in a cover-up before Watergate. You see the first source? It's source number 3. We'll start with source number 3, okay? The text said, he made Terach Chomesh Shanim. Terach died in Haran. You see Pasuk Lamed Bet in the text, Avraham? Terach lived how many years? 205 years, and he died in Haran. And then it says, God said, Lech Lecha. So if you read the text, it looks like God commanded Abraham to make Aliyah only after what? Terach died. But Rashi says it's not true. Look at source number 3. Rashi proves that what? That on source number 3, that Terach was very much alive. And Terach continued to live another 60 years after Avraham had what? Left him. Left town. And Rashi proves, because Avraham was what? 75 years when he left. And Terach was what? How old was Terach when he gave birth to Avraham? So Rashi figures out that Terach continued to live another 60 years after Avraham what? Left him. So Rashi wonders in source number 3, why did the Torah change the order? So Rashi says, God didn't want to publicize, and people will say, what kind of son is Abraham? He leaves an old father in Babylon, Long Island, and he makes Aliyah. What kind of son is that? Lefikach, therefore the Torah what? Says that he died, and then Abraham left, even though Terach continued to live another 60 years in source number 3. So if making Aliyah is more important, then why did God have to cover up? God didn't want any bad publicity in the Jewish press. Abraham leaves old parents in nursing home in Babylon, Long Island, and makes Aliyah. It wouldn't make nice headlines. So God didn't want the negative publicity, so God covers up and says, well, you know, they died, and then he made Aliyah. But Masha, why cover up? If making Aliyah is the way to go, that's more important than what? Than honoring parents, then why did God have to cover up for him? I don't understand, Chava. Avraham was involved in kiruv work, right? His parents were pagans. So why did God say, leave your parents and what? Do kiruv work somewhere else? Isn't it more important to be Mekar of Avraham, your own parents? You hear the question on the table? Avraham was the first Chabadnik, right? Opened up the Chabad house. He reached out to everybody. So wouldn't you think that his first customers would be, Shelley, whom? His own father and mother. And God says, no, leave them. Leave them and make Aliyah. Why? Please, Connie, what's the meaning? Be Makar of the whole world. What about your own parents? Hello? And God says, leave them. And then God covers up for him. God knew that Terach did do tshuva at the end. Only when? After Abraham left him. God knew that Terach and Mrs. Terach would only do tshuva of Nachum only what? After Avraham left him. Let me tell you why.
Not in front of their son, for sure not.
God told Abraham, you're wasting your time. Your parents will not do tshuva as long as what? You stick here. You got to take a powder. And then they'll do tshuva. And that's what happened. Surely why? Human nature. Abraham is going to preach to his parents and do tshuva. I changed your dirty diapers. I wiped your runny, snotty nose. You're going to tell me, Musa? Get lost. I changed your dirty diapers. Who stood up with you when you had the measles and the mumps? You're going to tell me what's right or wrong? God says, forget about it. You've got to leave them. They'll find me on their own. And they did that. Okay? They did that as well. The mother too. They did tshuva on their own. Because God says to Abraham, when you die, you will join your parents in the afterlife. If his parents were pagan idol worshippers, what kind of good news is that? They would be down under. So you see that they did tshuva. So after Abraham dies, he joins his parents in the afterlife. That means that they did tshuva. So anyway, living in Israel is so important. I have this dilemma that I had. Make Aliyah, stay with my parents. Look at source number 2. How important it is to live in Israel. See source number 2? Lachuzat olam. Yisham Elechem Elohim. Where am I a God for you? In the land of Israel. Avol ben Yisrael. See source number 2, Chava? Avol ben Yisrael Adar b'chul. But a Jewish person who lives b'chul. What does chul mean? Lakewood, no?
Outside the land of Israel.
Flatbush. Kimi shein lo elahai. How do they read this in Borough Park? A Jew who lives outside of Israel, Hadar b'chutzar, it's kimi shein lo elahai. It's like he has no God. Here, pretty incredible. This is Rashi writing. Everybody studies Rashi. Look at source number 1. Source number 1. You have it, Chava? The text. Ani Hashem Elokeichem. I Hashem your God. Asher Tzeisi Eschem Me'eretz Mitzrayim. I took you out from the land of Egypt. Losav Lachem Es Eretz Canaan. To be for you for God. Lios Lachem Elohim. So why does the Torah repeat? Ani Hashem Elokeichem. See Rav Nachum, Pasuk Lamed Ches? In the text, God says, I'm your God. Asher Tzeisi Eschem. I took you out from the land of Egypt to give you the land of the Canaan. And then he says again, Lios Lachem Elohim. You already told me I'm Hashem your God. Or why repeat after Eretz Canaan, Lios Lachem Elohim? Look at Rashi. You have Rashi number 1. Is it highlighted in yellow? I don't know. No, but it's number 1, no?
Yes, it's circled.
Circled. Lios Lachem Elohim.
And they're numbered in Hebrew. The numbers are bigger going up the small.
Number 1. You see that? Shekol Adar Be'eretz Yisrael Ni Elohim. Anyone who lives in Pisgat Zev, I mean in Ashkelon, anyone who lives in Eretz Yisrael, Ni Elohim, then I am what? V'chol ayotza mimena, anyone that leaves Eretz Yisrael, I don't want to read the next word. Ke'oved avodas kachavim, is like you what? An idol worshiper. Does that include Crown Heights? I don't know. So therefore, Avraham had to make Aliyah. But what about honoring parents? What about honoring parents, right? So, are children permitted to make Aliyah despite their parents' objection? Baruch Hashem, my parents didn't object. But are children permitted to make Aliyah despite their parents' objection? Or does the mitzvah to honor one's parents take precedence over what? Over the mitzvah of living in Eretz Yisrael? That's the question on the table. Okay? Okay.
But living in Israel is...
But it's, the Taryag, we know that all the Torah is equal. Does the Ten Commandments have a more Kedusha than the rest of the Torah? No. We believe that it was all spoken by God.
Doesn't it say Yishuv Eretz Yisrael Keneged?
It says, the Sifri, Rivka says, in Deuteronomy 12, that the mitzvah of living in Israel, Shkula, Keneged Kol HaMitzvah Shebetorah. That the mitzvah to live in Israel equals in value like all the mitzvahs of the Torah. Including what? Including honoring parents. But we just said, Rashbi said, that honoring parents is greater than honoring God.
Right.
So I'm mixed up over here.
Yeah.
Liz, I'm a little confused. But we'll work it out. We can work it out, right?
What's the source for the equal to all the other mitzvahs?
The Sifri, Deuteronomy 12, says that Shkula, mitzvah, Yishvat So, Keneket Kol HaMitzvah Shebetorah. The mitzvah to live in Israel is equal in value to all the mitzvahs of the Torah. And if you look in the Even Ezra, Siman Ayin Hey, the Pischei Tshuva, Avraham, the Pischei Tshuva, everybody studies the Pischei Tshuva. Even Ezra, Siman Ayin Hey, says even today, even Bezman Hazeh, even today, he lived about 250 years ago, even today, the mitzvah of living in Israel, Shkula, what does Shkula mean? Weighs in value like all the mitzvahs of the Torah. Okay? So, are children permitted to make Aliyah to Israel despite their parents' objection?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
What the other way around? Let's see if we can work it out. Now.
Why? Because they want to be near their parents.
Now the mitzvah of living in Israel, we know certain mitzvahs can be done by a shliach. Right?
Aliyah cannot.
1 minute, how do you know? You're right. I can make a shliach to make kiddush for me. I can make a shliach to circumcise my son for me. I can make a shliach someone read the Megillah for me. To blow shofar for me. It's like I did it myself. But can I do a shliach to put on tefillin?
No.
My body has to put on. Certain mitzvahs you can make a shliach, others not. What about living in Israel?
Absolutely not.
Living in Israel is a mitzvah shebegufo. That's a mitzvah like putting on tefillin. Just like, Reb Nachum, can I, tomorrow morning, do me a favor, put on tefillin for me. I'll make you my shliach. I can't do that. I can make you a shliach to say kiddush for me, to blow shofar for me, right? To read the Megillah, but I cannot make you a shliach to put on tefillin. So the same way, that's a mitzvah shebegufo. So the same thing with living in Pisgat Zev, I mean in Kiryat Moshe, I mean in Ashkelon. That mitzvah can only be done by what? By my body. You cannot make a shliach to live in Eretz Yisrael. What about honoring parents? Now we know osik b'mitzvah potam in a mitzvah, Rivka. We know if someone is occupied in doing a mitzvah, he's exempt from doing another mitzvah. If I'm busy taking care of my parents, I'm a osik b'mitzvah. Osik b'mitzvah potam in a mitzvah. So what right do I have to make aliyah if I'm being metapel with my parents? I'm osik b'mitzvah, Avraham. If you're occupied in one mitzvah, you're exempt from what?
Another.
So you hear the question on the table? So if you look in the Rambam, Hilchas Mamrim, he says the mitzvah of kibbut v'aim can be done through a shliach.
Wow.
Look in the Rambam, Hilchas Mamrim.
Hey, the nursing home check.
1 minute.
Well, we did that with
The Rambam says that mitzvah kibbut v'aim, unlike living in Israel, unlike putting on tefillin, which my body has to do, taking care of parents, says Rambam, can be done to a shliach. Of course, it's better. We know, Chava, mitzvah b'yosem mishluach. We know that if I read the Megillah myself, it's better. If I can blow shofar myself, it's better. But you can do a shliach. But anytime you can do a shliach, if you do it yourself, it's what? Better. So the Rambam says that kibbut v'aim, you can make a shliach. Of course, it's better to what? Do it yourself. But if you can't, because you want to make aliyah, or it's too difficult for you, then if you hire a Filipino or someone, you're doing the mitzvah of kibbut v'aim through a shliach. So you're doing both. Right? You're appointing someone, you're hiring someone to take care of your parents. So you're doing the mitzvah kibbut v'shliach, and then you're doing the mitzvah of what? Of living in Israel. So you can what? You can do both. Mitzvah kibbut v'aim you can do through a shliach, and then you can live in Israel. That's a mitzvah like putting on tefillin. Okay? Now, so the Rishonim all say that a parent cannot tell you, just like a parent cannot tell you, don't put on tefillin. A parent cannot tell you, don't listen to the Megillah. A parent cannot tell you, don't keep Shabbos. Can they tell you that? They cannot say, don't make aliyah.
Don't marry someone.
Right? We're going to get to that, right? Right? So since parents also have to honor God, how do you honor God? By living in Pisgat Zev, I mean in the city center. Merkaz Ha'ir. Parents also have to honor God. So just like parents cannot tell you, don't put on tefillin, parents cannot tell you, Avram, don't shake a lulav and esrek on Sukkot, they cannot tell you, don't make aliyah. Because it's a mitzvah.
They can tell you, but
They can tell you not to obligated to listen. You can't be mean about it, but you're not obligated to listen. You have to say, I'm sorry. Living in Israel is a mitzvah like putting on tefillin. I'm sorry, I cannot what? Listen to you, but I can take you along.
Yeah.
I can take you along, right? So all the Mefarshim say that the honor of God takes precedence over the honor due to one's parents, and therefore, what? Parents cannot tell you not to make aliyah, just like they cannot tell you what? Eat non-kosher. Right? They can't tell you that. But you have to be kind about it and respectful about it, right? Now the question is, if that's the case, if honoring parents is what? More important, why did God have to cover up for him, for Abraham, and say that the parents died and then he left? If Avram did the right thing, that honoring God is more important by living in Israel, why does God have to cover up and say that Terach died when he continued to live?
because he had to be a model.
But if he did the right thing, what's the problem? If he did the right thing, then what's the problem? So the Chai Adam speaks about that. He says Avram required special dispensation to live in Eretz Yisrael. Because if you look at Tosfot, in Masechta Gittin, Eretz Yisrael only acquired its Kedusha of living here only when Yeshua ben Nun led the IDF across the Jordan. Yeshua ben Nun led the IDF across the Jordan and we conquered the land. Only then did Eretz Yisrael receive its what? Special Kedusha. Then the mitzvah kicked in. But when God told Avraham, make Aliyah, Israel was not special yet. So therefore, he needed a special dispensation, and people will know, why are you going there? Israel's not special. It wasn't special yet. Just amazing that when the IDF conquered Eretz Yisrael, that's when Yisrael became what? The extra holy land. The holiness of the IDF. So Yishuv Eretz Yisrael only after Yeshua ben Nun conquered the land. Interesting. So Avraham lived hundreds of years before, so therefore he required a special what? A dispensation of what? Of living here. And therefore God had to what? Cover up for him, because there was no mitzvah yet. Now what about women? We know women are exempt from time-bound mitzvahs. What about living in Israel, Chava? Is that a time-bound mitzvah? No. It's a mitzvah, it's not time-bound. It's like a mezuzah. Women are obligated to mezuzah. Why? It's not time-bound. Right? Women are potter from talis and tefillin and sukkah and lulav and shofar because it's time-bound. But living in Israel is not a time-bound mitzvah. It's a mitzvah 24/7. So therefore, the mitzvah to live in Israel is not a time-bound mitzvah. And therefore, women also, Avraham has the same obligation like what? Like a man. And therefore, just like parents cannot tell a son, don't make Aliyah, they can't tell a daughter either. It's like telling the daughter, don't put on a mezuzah.
Can't do that.
My dear daughter, do not put on a mezuzah. Do they listen? No. So just like they can't say, don't put on a mezuzah, they cannot say, don't make Aliyah. A time-bound mitzvah, not time-bound, and women, as much as men, have what? The same obligation. But again, you have to be kind about it, and you have to make sure your parents are taken care of. The Rambam says clearly, before you make Aliyah, you have to make sure that you have a competent Filipino or anybody take care of them. You just can't leave them. You have to make sure that they're taken care of. So then you're doing the mitzvah kibbut of aim through a shliach, and you're living in Israel. So you're having what? Both mitzvahs simultaneously. You cannot abandon them until you make sure they are properly what? Taken care of.
Now eating dinner, who gets to eat?
Oh, one second. Now, so parents, children don't have to listen to parents by making Aliyah. What about a shidduch? What about a shidduch? Don't have to listen. Beautiful. If children want to get married, of course, to Jewish people, right? And the parents say, we don't like that shidduch, the mitzvah of kibbut of aim does not apply, because getting married is a mitzvah in the Torah. So just like your parents cannot say, don't put on a mezuzah, just like your parents can't say, what, don't make Kiddush, they can't say, don't marry this one. So children, son and daughter, can get married to each other as long as they're kosher Jews, even when the parents are what? Against it. Because getting married is a mitzvah in the Torah, and parents cannot tell you to what? Transgress any mitzvah. May a son change his nusach if he feels is more kavanah against his parents' will.
I would think so.
I want you to come to my shul. I want you to daven nusach whatever, Sfardi. And the son says, Abba, I feel more comfortable in a Kalbach shul.
Okay.
And the father says, no, you have to come to daven with me. Does the son have to listen? No. Sam Sprecher says clearly, a son can change his nusach if he feels that a Kalbach minyan or any minyan will give him more kavanah rachmiel. He can disobey his father and daven in his own shul against what? His father's wishes. Because davening with kavanah is a mitzvah. The Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer, listen to me, my friend. Chassam Sofer, you heard of him. He quotes his Rebbe, Rav Nosson Adler. He says, my Rebbe was a malach. Rav Nosson Adler, Zecher Tzadik Zavracha. He says, his Rebbe changed his nusach and also how he pronounced words. He says his Rebbe, Rav Nosson Adler, hired a Sephardi teacher. Not to say emes, but to say emet. Not to say ovois, but to say ovot. His father was upset. What are you doing, my son? You're changing. Emes, emet, ovois, ovot. Right? He hired a Sephardi teacher, Rav Nosson Adler, the Malach, to change not just his nusach, but even the way the words are pronounced against his father. So you see that what? You can do it. If he feels he has more kavanah with nusach Sephardi and nusach pronunciation, then it's not a problem. The parents cannot what? Object. The parents.
Your objection doesn't
Same
count.
old clothes as your father does because my father did this, my father did that.
You don't have to.
It's not an excuse anymore.
What?
My
No, but eating eating kitnios is a minhag. What? That's a good question. You cannot what?
Not an excuse anymore.
Rabbi Yosef said about eating kitniot, if you marry a Sephardi, then you should do Hataras Nadorim. If you marry a Sephardim, because it's like a neder. The Ashkenazim made a neder not to eat kitnios. But if you marry a Sephardi, then he says they should do Hatarat Nadarim. And then they can eat kitnios, okay?
It's not in the
What?
Torah. Why is that so special? It's not even in the Torah.
What? Kitnios is a minhag. Kitnios is a minhag. Ashkenazim mean not to eat kitnios. What's kitnios? Legumes, whatever. Legumes, right? But Sephardim never took that minhag. So let's say you have in-laws that are Sephardim, or outlaws. Outlaws are in-laws. You're not allowed to fight about it. Shalom Bayis comes first, not chametz. So if you have Sephardi in-laws or outlaws or children, they invite you. You don't have to eat the kitnios. You eat the other stuff, but don't make a big deal about it.
Right.
Don't go ballistic. It's not chametz, so you don't have to eat it. Doesn't make the dishes treif. People freak out. Never. You know, if you don't have to, how many Shulchan Aruch are there, Connie? But if you don't have the fifth one, what's the fifth one? Seichel. The other four don't work. Don't freak out. You don't have to eat it. The dishes are not treif. You eat another course. People don't use their what? Their fifth Shulchan Aruch, right? Yes. Yes.
Even if you daven differently than your parents, like Sardi,
Right.
you still say God's name the same way your father did. But Zeke Levi and Kea Levi over
So who said that?
Rav Cook and Rav Hall.
Well, according to Rav Nosson Adler, according to Sam Seifer, Rav Nosson Adler,
We're talking about the Shem.
He said just the shape of God.
God's name, you say like your father did.
yeah.
I heard it with my own ears.
Okay, Rav Cook said that, okay?
What did he say?
But imagine to hire a teacher, the great Tzaddik Ador, Rav Nosson Adler, the Gaon Ador, an old man hired a Sephardi teacher to teach him how to pronounce not emes, but emet, right? Not hayom haras olam, hayom haras olam, right? Olam, right? Olam goylem, it's not olam, it's olam, right, Chava? His father was upset. He said, Dad, take a pill and lie down. Don't be upset. I'm allowed to do that, right? So, now where do we learn? Yehuda asked a bomb kasha, right? Honoring parents. Let's say you only have one piece of bread, and you and your parents are both starving. Lo yaleinu, lo yaleinu. Chayecha koidmen. We know that your life comes what? Before what? Anybody else. But how do you know it even comes before a parent? Hafochba vafochba de kuloba. What does that mean in English?
Turn it over and find it.
It's everything you want to know about anything is where in the Torah. You just have to what? Know where to look. People think that the Torah tells me stories. Genesis doesn't have many mitzvahs. It has stories, but it's not stories. In Parshas Vayigash, actually it's Parshas Miketz. In Parshas Miketz, right, the land of Canaan is struck by a famine. The whole Middle East is struck by, including what? The land of Canaan, right? Yaakov's family has no food, right? Yaakov's family has no food, right?
I think it's
So he sends them down to buy.
233, 42.
1 second. He sends them down to, yeah. 1 second. Yeah. 1 second. Maybe you know.
He sends them down to Egypt because there's food in Egypt.
Incredible. Genesis 43. You could look it up when you go home, Lingy. You could look it up. Incredible. Everything is in it. You just have to know where to look. Genesis 43, Pasuk 8. The family is starving. They have no food. Canaan is... Vayomi Yehuda el Yisrael, Aviv. Yehuda says to his father Yisrael. Who's that? Yaakov. Yaakov didn't want to send Benjamin down, right? But they're starving. Shilcha nar iti, Yehuda. It's Genesis 43, 8. Send the boy down with me. V'nukuma will get up and elcha. We'll get up and we'll go down to Egypt. V'nichye v'loi nomus. We will live and we will what? Not die from hunger. Gam anachnu gam ata. What does gam anachnu mean? He could have just said, let's go down to Egypt, send Benji with me, we won't starve to death. Period. Why does he have to add, Shelley, gam anachnu gam ata? Gam, Rivka, you're ahead of me. You're cooking with gas. Please hear me. Shalom, you listening to me? There are no extra words in the Torah. There isn't even an extra letter. The Torah could have said, Yehuda says, listen, send us down to Egypt so we will live and not die of hunger. What does he have to add, Yehuda? Gam anachnu gam ata. What does gam anachnu mean? Gam anachnu and you. Why does he have to add that? To teach that what? We come first. Is that incredible? Nechama, are you getting this? Otherwise, the words gam anachnu gam ata are redundant. We'll live and not starve to death. I get the picture. Why does Yehuda have to add, we will not starve and you won't starve? The words are not redundant, Ray. They're to teach that lo yaleinu nebech.
If I don't starve, then you...
My parents come first. I come... No. Gam anachnu. Don't they say in the 1 second in the El Al when they show you to put on the mask? Right. It says first put the mask on yourself before your child. Shirley, you've been on the airline recently? You see the movie? They say when you need oxygen, they say first put the mask on yourself and then your children. Gam anachnu, we won't starve, says Yehuda, and then you won't starve. So the Torah teaches it's not my life. Hashem gives life, and He's the one that what? Decides. Chayecha koidmin. My life comes before. That's not man-made wisdom. That's what? That's God. That's what Kodesh Baruch Hu says. My life comes first. Incredible. So anyway, what have we learned from here? That what? That living in Eretz Yisrael is what? The greatest mitzvah of all. And a person, if you look at it again, it's incredible. And source number one. Source number one, it's circled. How do they learn this in Flatbush or Lakewood? Source number one. You see the circle? Lios lachem le'elohim. Shekol adar be'etz Yisrael ni le'elohim. Anyone who lives in Israel, Am is God. V'chol hayotzem yimeno oved avodas kachavim. The question is, why should it be like that? Why should it be like that? Why is anyone living outside of Israel like he worships idols? Why should it be like that?
It is like that.
Why is it like that? So Nachmanides points out, if you look in the book of Daniel, God chooses to govern the world through heavenly ministers. He doesn't have to, but He chooses. Every country has what? A heavenly angel that's in charge of that country. You look in the book of Daniel. So if you're davening in a country, even though you're davening to Hashem, who's there to intercept the prayer? The heavenly Sar. The Sar. The heavenly minister. So even though you're davening to God, it looks like you're davening to the Sar. That's classic Avodah Zarah. The only country that doesn't have a minister over it is what? Eretz Yisrael. Here it's a local call. Here it's a local call. Eretz Yisrael is the only country where Kodesh Baruch Hu has a direct relationship with us. The rest of the world, there's a heavenly governor that interferes. That God chooses to set up a system. We don't know why he did that, right? But other countries, God chooses to run through robots. So we call malachim, heavenly ministers. To have a direct relationship with him, Elisheva, I can tell your mother, is only where, you know it, is only in Eretz Yisrael. So outside of Eretz Yisrael, it's ki'ilu. It looks like you're worshiping the malach, even though you're not. Even though you're not worshiping the malach. It's interesting, on Friday night, we sing Berchuni L'Shalom, right? Berchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom. The Vilna Gaon surely skipped that. Why? Was he hungry? He wanted to get to the gefilte fish. The Vilna Gaon says you should not say Berchuni L'Shalom. We need a robot to bless me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu blesses me. The Vilna Gaon was adamant, his Hasidim, the one who lived in Shara Chesed, they do not say Bechuni L'Shalom. We don't want a malach to bless us. You listening to me? He skipped it. Because our blessing comes directly from what? From a Kodesh Baruch Hu. What? Who? The Vilna Gaon. He tried to come here. You know, he was shipwrecked. His Talmidim came here in 1802.
I know, I'm talking about that
Bechuni L'Shalom. He said you shouldn't say that because we do not require or desire blessings from what? Intermediaries. We have a direct relationship with our Kodesh Baruch Hu. So he wouldn't say that, but other people do say it. Right? So it depends if you're hungry or not, Chava, right?
Well, no, it depends where you want to get your blessing from.
Right? Now the Chofetz Chaim was the Meshgiach and Radin. I got to tell you this story. The Chofetz Chaim was Meshgiach and Radin Yeshiva. And on Friday, the boys didn't get lunch. A lot of yeshivas don't give lunch on Friday. So in Radin in Poland, they didn't give any lunch either, right? So when he would invite boys for Friday night Shabbos dinner, Avraham, the Chofetz Chaim, he wouldn't sing Shalom Aleichem, he wouldn't say Eshes Chayil, he would make Kiddush, eat the gefilte fish, and then sing Shalom Aleichem. So the boys said, Rebbe, Chofetz Chaim HaKadosh, you're changing the religion. We were taught to sing Shalom Aleichem, Eshes Chayil, and then make Kiddush. What are you making Kiddush, having the gefilte fish, or maybe the chopped liver, and only then saying Shalom Aleichem? So Chofetz Chaim said what? You boys are hungry. You had no lunch today. The Malachim are not hungry. They can wait. You're hungry.
You learned it from last week's parsha?
Last week's parsha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told God, excuse me, I got to take care of hungry guests. God, you're not hungry. The guests are hungry. That's Judaism, sensitivity to the Zulat. How do you say that in English? Judaism in 3 words, sensitivity to the other.
And Shlomo Carlebach was great at that today.
He was great on that. That's Yahadut. Malachim can wait, they're not hungry, Chava. You boys are hungry. What a message. What?
The Sfaradim,
Right?
when they sing Shalom Aleichem, they have an extra paragraph. They say, Shalom Aleichem, Boachem, welcome.
Right.
B'shiftachem
B'shiftachem. Right.
They're much more polite than we are.
B'shiftachem b'shalom. My wife is Fardi. She adds that. Even though I'm hungry, she adds that b'shiftachem b'shalom. She adds that paragraph.
I think it's very nice.
Right. So I don't say b'chuni l'shalom, and she adds b'shiftachem l'shalom, so we get along fine. It comes out about because the Vilna Gaon said you shouldn't say it. We don't desire or want blessings from malachim. We don't want robots. Jews don't like middlemen.
We don't like to pay retail.
We don't want brokers. We deal directly with the boss. We don't want brachas from malachim, said the Vilna Gaon, right? We don't want a middleman there, right? B'chuni l'shalom.
So why do you let people say everything?
All right. The Vilna Gaon's Hasidim don't say it. What?
Why did Yaakov say to the angel, I'm not letting go until you bless me?
Yaakov Goldman hit a home run. Ooh, the man hit a home run. But I'm prepared.
What was the question?
He asked in next week's Parsha, in Vayetze. Remember Yaakov wrestle? You want to wrestle? Remember he wrestles with the Malach, right? That's in which Parsha, right? In Vayishlach. Next week. No, Vayishlach. You would have hit a home run, but I'm prepared. Yaakov Goldman hit a home run also. He wrestles with the Malach, right? Okay, 1 second. He wrestles with the Malach, and then he has the Malach in a chokehold. Maybe it's a full Nelson, right? 1 second. He has him in a chokehold. 1 minute. Yeah. And, yeah. When you say Yaakov, that's Genesis 32. Genesis 12, yeah. So the Malach says, send me away, because the dawn is rising and it's my turn to sing Shira. So he says, I won't let you go until you bless me. Hello? Yaakov, you know the Vilna Gaon. So Rashi HaKadosh asked that question. Rashi asked that question, Genesis 32:27. Rashi asked that question, and Rashi answered. You see, you can't study text without Rashi. You didn't ask for a bracha. Hoideli ala brachot that my father gave me. He was the Sar Shel Esav. He was Esav's heavenly minute. We all have, each nation has a, he says, Rashi says he wasn't asking for the Malach to bless him. We don't want a blessing from Malach. Haidali, admit to me, al habrachot shebechani avi, on the blessing that what? That my father blessed me. Call off your attack dog. Who's your attack dog? Esav. Down, boy. See, without Rashi, surely we're lost in space. We don't know the written Torah without the oral Torah. Who's the oral Torah? Rashi. So he wasn't asking for a bracha from a malach. We don't desire or ask malachim. He says, admit to me that my father's blessing is really mine, and tell Esav to stop harassing me. You're his sar. But he was not asking for a bracha from the malach. You cannot study Chumash without Rashi. You know that. The oral Torah, the written Torah is written like what? Shorthand code. To confuse me? No, to prove that without the oral Torah, we don't know anything. The written Torah, we have to know, is written as shorthand. Shorthand code. Without the oral Torah, we cannot unlock the code. That's good. Thank you very much.